nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars. Don't let them end.
Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of our planet's hottest entertainment with an edge from a galaxy far, far away. I'm En Fuego here, welcoming you once again to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment. That's right, you can just call me Fuego for short, and I am super stoked to have you here with me. Yep, fighting off a little bit of the winter flu, unfortunately, or well, almost winter, but nonetheless, I am soldiering through here to talk to all of you about, yes, another Star Wars novel that I have just checked out. It is called LORDS of the Sith by Paul S. Kemp. That's right. Once Disney took over the property in, I think it was 2014, 15, or something like that, they decided to, strike a bunch of stuff as legends and no longer have it be proper canon, and then they started writing all of these new novels, and I mean, ones that I have already reviewed here on the channel are a few that came out this year, which was the Amidala novel. I also had the Dooku Jedi Lost, which was good, very, very fascinating actually, and then also Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, which came out this year as well, and I know they just put out a new YA, so yeah, as we approach the release of Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9, the end of the saga films, yeah, there's so much that can still be covered, and I know that I'm not going to get through every single book as much as I have aspired to this year, but this is one that I was told by a ton of different people, one of the absolute best, takes place between the prequels and the original trilogy. So this is shortly after Revenge of the Sith, and it's basically, the way that it was built to me is Darth Vader at his most ruthless. And essentially, so Ryloth, which you definitely saw in, boy, I know the first season of Clone Wars had a 3-part Ryloth episode. Basically, it's those aliens for the uninitiated that have like the weird tube-like, looking, appendages that are, coming off the top of their heads and stuff. And yes, you've seen them as Jedis, you've seen them as bad guys, all kinds of different stuff. But so Ryloth is basically kind of the setting of this primarily. And so there is this is before the rebellion has started properly, but yet this is what kind of sparks like the rebellion through the galaxy. It's the whole free Ryloth movement and stuff. And so basically, you have a Star Destroyer, which is in the vicinity of Ryloth, which has, Darth Vader and the Emperor on it. And there are some peeps who are planning to blow the thing up. And with the help of this gentleman by the name of Belcor, who is an Imperial that is a mole, and he is assisting the Ryloth movement. There's this badass lady, and the other organizer guy, Cam, I think his name was, that she's like kind of involved with a little bit. I'm trying to double check on the actual name, but well, it's inconsequential. So yeah, basically there is all of that intrigue with them, trying to actually, first and foremost, infiltrate this Star Destroyer and blow it up, because they're trying to assassinate the Emperor and Darth Vader and basically use that big declaration as a spark to go through the galaxy and have all kinds of other people just, rise up and go against this Imperial Empire of sorts. But yeah, as far as Darth being supremely ruthless, Mr. Vader in this, yeah, he definitely is. It's like the book starts out with him like infiltrating this ship and basically killing everybody on the ship. I mean, we're talking like, Rogue One status craziness, just, tearing everybody to pieces. And then as far as like a few other really badass moments go, when the team that gets onto this, Star Destroyer and does in fact successfully destroy it, there is a part afterwards where Vader is after them in his own ship, and so he is like flying beside them up in space, and he looks at this woman, and he starts like choking her with the Force from his ship to their ship. It is just bonkers crazy, his ruthlessness in this. But it's interesting though, because of the fact that he is still so closely removed from being Anakin, only a few years I believe, that there are a couple moments in the story where he thinks back, and he thinks of Snips at one point, he thinks of Padme at another point. There's there is a little bit of questioning here and there, but it's immediately like stifled out. And you know, there's even a point where the Emperor kind of picks up on the fact that, you know, he's thinking of just like letting him die, you know, and just envisioning what it would be like for him to rule the galaxy instead. And like, you know, Palpatine is impressed by that and stuff, which is kind of funny. But the other element that has to be mentioned is the fact that there is the first openly gay Star Wars character in this. And so she is on a moon of Ryloth, and she's been just drowning herself in just wine and, you know, not really paying proper attention to all of her duties after the death of her wife. And so, but it's really her clashing with the Belcor guy who is the Imperial Mole, and Belcor is trying to like scapegoat her into actually, you know, being perceived as the one who aided these, you know, not quite rebels, but these free Ryloth people. You know, there's a phrase that is uttered over and over in this by Cam anyway, the guy who was like the main leader and the organizer of this entire thing, and he's like, you know, I'm not a terrorist, you know, I'm like a freedom fighter or something to that regard. So it's just a way of him reassuring himself that no, what the lives that I am ending are for the greater good of not just Ryloth but the galaxy as a whole. But yeah, really, the story, I mean, it's fascinating in that particular regard, the destruction of the Star Destroyer, you know, the whole Ryloth Rebellion, everything that's going on there. But the story really gets especially interesting once Vader and Palpatine with a Royal Guard escape, you know, from the, I'm trying to remember the name of the actual... well, it's not on the back of here, but, you know, whatever. There was a very cool name for this Star Destroyer that was, you know, like, destroyed, which is funny. But, yeah, so they escape and they make their way down to Ryloth, and that's where everybody is after them. So you've got that woman who is the leader from the moon of Ryloth, and she is trying to get back down to the main planet so that she can actually, you know, save Palpatine and Vader and assist them, because she doesn't want her reputation to be destroyed and, you know, all kinds of Imperial charges to come about. But then there is also like these weird like indigenous huge insects. We're talking like Starship Trooper status that Palpatine and Vader and that surviving Royal Guard end up having to go against. They've got like crazy mandibles, and, you know, they're these big nasty bugs, and they end up going down into their nest and, you know, taking our queen and all of this different craziness. It's really, really rad. And but yet at the same time, you know, there is also Belcor trying to find Vader, and also Cam and the girl that I mentioned, who is a super badass in her own right, that are trying to track down Vader and Palpatine because they want to finish the job. They want to kill them. They want to make that big declaration of the destruction of leadership with hopes of getting more people onto the cause of, you know, facing the Imperial Empire. And yeah, without really spoiling too much more beyond that, it's a really fascinating book. It's fast-paced. It's a quick read. It's very well written, you know. I divided my time, as I always do, between the book itself and the audiobook. And the audiobook, whether you're listening to it on Scribd or, you know, Audible, audiobooks.com, whatever your destination for that sort of listening may be, I love what they have done with these. Now they're actually making them unabridged, which back when I was a kid in the 90s and I was listening to all the Star Wars audio dramas like, you know, Shadows of the Empire, stuff like that, it was disappointing that they were heavily abridging these things. And, you know, they made them full-on audio dramas, you know, with sound effects and different voice actors and stuff like that. But I mean, the Star Wars audiobooks, especially with the sound effects, just sounds of space, of lasers, score in the background. And while it is usually just one narrator, the narrator is able to do various voices, and it's really fascinating in that regard. And it does make it almost like a full-on audio drama experience, despite the fact that there is only one voice actor as opposed to multiple ones like you got back in those you know, 90s stuff, before the special editions, before the prequels, all that different stuff. But yeah, if you want some fascinating, you know, in between the prequels and the main trilogy stuff, Lords of the Sith by Paul S. Kemp was really badass, I gotta say. As much as I enjoyed Master and Apprentice, as much as I really liked Dooku Jedi Lost, because that's a character that I'm very fascinated by, and you know, all of those were good, you know, as was the Padme novel about her different handmaidens and stuff like that. But yeah, lo and behold, this has a reputation for a reason as being one of the best, you know, since Disney took over the property as far as novels go. The names that I continue hearing thrown out are this one and Claudia Gray's other book, Bloodline, I believe it is. It's either that or Aftermath, I'm trying to remember. But nonetheless, we are less than 2 weeks from, we're a little over a week at this particular point, from Rise of Skywalker, so you can definitely look forward to a review of that day one on Thursday the 19th of December, I believe, you know, when the preview screenings are. I've already got my tickets purchased, IMAX 3D, I'm ready to go. It's going to be rad status, but yes, I extend a grande gracias for anybody who is tuning into this review. There is still a lot of additional Star Wars coverage that I'm going to be putting out in the coming 10 days or so until Rise of Skywalker actually comes out, and I'm just going to continue it through the rest of the year. We're talking comic books, we're talking novels, we're talking, hell, I'm going to talk about the Ewok movies, the holiday special. I'm just going to keep this Galaxy Far, Far Away coverage going. But I've been Jaime En Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and here on YouTube, obviously, where, no, this isn't a Star Wars channel. I've reviewed tons of other things, including some of my favorite films of the year, which include Knives Out, the Rian Johnson Redemption, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, one of my favorite Tarantino movies, and probably one of the most, I mean, that and Knives Out are probably the most fun that I had on this channel this past year, along with Good Boys, which was really, really awesome. Wild Rose, great music movie, another one of my favorites of the year. So check out reviews for all of those, as well as all the Marvel material and, you know, different comic book fun. So definitely cool in that regard. And then if you want the spooktacular stuff, which is probably why you're over here on this particular channel with me, yes, youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. If for whatever reason you are not properly like versed in all of the scarific stuff that we cover on there, 1, sometimes 2 episodes every single day, man. Yes, we are vigilant and relentless in that regard, and very just, you know, proud and honored to be a part of, you know, your spooktacular days from day to day. And then lastly, provided I am feeling healthy enough, I always do every Monday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, the Willis Greedia program with CP and Lindsay Moomsey from My 2 Cents of Nonsense, hashtag show business, and that is where we talk about weekend box office numbers. We look ahead to the upcoming weekend, make some predictions there, and lastly, have a bit of palaver about all things just in the world of, you know, entertainment, you know, television and movies and stuff. So, I've been Fuego, y'all have been awesome, and until the Wheel of Ka, or the Reel of Ka, I should say, comes around once more, I say hasta luego, Cinemigos, and constant readers and viewers alike. But I'm hopeful that we get to share more of this film palaver, or in this case, book palaver. It's a little bit different for me, sooner rather than later. And until then, remember, may the Force be with you.